Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Rick Favreau and Austin Underground. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every morning by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Be sure to tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking. Get us your questions. We'll get to those here in a little bit. We obviously got a little bit to talk about first, guys. Sark, of course, taking the podium at 11. Spring practice back underway, practice number 7. So it's a busy day.
It is. They're actually already on the practice field right now. Longhorns are. Steve Sarkisian, to your point, will meet with the media at around 11. So about 2.5, 3 hours from now, Blake. Longhorns enter this second half of spring ball or, middle part of spring ball, really with a couple of clear issues right now, in my opinion. One is at wide receiver, where they're trying to figure out who's going to join Ryan Wingo and DeAndre Moore, both of whom are now out for spring. The other at tight end, where they are down to just 2 or 3 scholarship tight ends right now on the roster and available, none of whom have seen much time at all, if any, in a football game. That's on offense. Also on defense, I think that how the secondary is coming together right now seems to be a focal point behind the scenes, because Texas has a lot of pieces to the puzzle, but how are they all going to fit together is maybe what they want to see. Now that the pads are completely on, those coaches are going to be able to work with those guys a little bit more. Texas as a whole, extremely talented from what we're hearing behind the scenes and what we've seen in person. So it's really starting the middle part of this is the middle week of the 5 weeks spring training camp regime. Next week, they really get into it. They'll have some scrimmages over the next couple of weeks as well that we'll be following and reporting on. But Longhorns right now, really, I think, focused on getting wide receiver right, which young one's going to get up and go, and then figuring out tight end. And both of those answers may have to come in the portal. We shall see exactly what Texas and Brandon Harris, the GM of the University of Texas, and Steve Sarkisian decide to do.
Yeah, and I'll tell you who won't be. We don't have to worry about. That's Arch Manning's NIL paycheck.
They just another one today.
They just released Viore. Now Arch, he's got to be getting close to $20 million. I mean, it's got to be. I'm telling you.
What? These aren't necessarily $1 million deals, Jerry.
Bobby, he's going to end up getting close to 15 to 20 million in NIL yearly. I'm calling my shot now, because I've been saying 8 to 10, but there's no way. And not what we heard about Red Bull. He can make as much as the family wants him to take on. So it's their call. But there's Arch Manning's new Viore commercial. So we got Red Bull. We got the self-driving car. We got Viore.
Yeah. He's basically going to pick one from every category, and go like that. We got to get him. He's got to beat Papa John's pretty soon, I think. Match with his uncle, right? Like 100 Papa John's restaurants.
Yeah, my advice to Arch is stay away from Livy Dunn, because you don't want a Paul Skeens 102-mile-an-hour fastball to the dome, and that would hurt Texas football season. So just be careful with your Viore shoots, photo shoots, and commercials. All right, over there. But another Arch is going to be sending gold-plated Christmas cards to everybody at this point.
Meanwhile, in Aggie land.
Oh, you got to play.
There was this scene yesterday.
Man, this will lead perfectly into the national championship of basketball.
It will. So I'm going to put this up here. I'm going to mute it, though, number one, to spare everybody's ears from the garbage that's
chat. For the chat, when we play this, what are your thoughts? Just give us your thoughts.
This is the new basketball coach. If this is how you start your career as a basketball coach, are you just
I mean, give us your thoughts.
Oh my goodness! You think he had a moment of regret on that stage, fellas?
It's even better without the sound of the Aggie war hymn. I mean, just to watch that happen. I mean, I don't know what to say.
It makes me think. Whenever I saw it, it made me think of the guy with the sword fighting the SMU cheerleaders in the '80s on the field, College Station. I don't know. I mean, look, what's he making? $3 million a year? I mean, anybody would sway for $3 million a year that was coaching at Samford. Let's put that out there.
Yeah,
Trev Alberts will sway too because the school he played at hated him and wanted him to leave. So that'll make you sway too in other ways. All right, can I go off on the national championship basketball game now?
If you think it's necessary, yeah.
Oh, it's necessary. It's necessary. So look, I want to say this, and this is my issue. Well, and look, I want to say I appreciate Kelvin Sampson's culture, and I appreciate how hard his kids play. Same thing with Rick Barnes. But I will be happy when the WWE cage fight basketball coaches retire. Because I don't care if the game was close or not last night, that was a bad product. If a national championship game, it turns into a WWE cage fight, which is what Houston or Rick Barnes' team tries to make it. The issue is then the officials become part of the story and part of the game. And it's just not my cup of tea, the style of play, honestly. I just don't like it. But so I have a negative viewpoint on it. But when you have a crap product like that in a national championship game, and that's what it was. I don't care if it's a close game. The majority of people don't want to watch a WWE team try to go WWE cage fight in a basketball game because then it's a low scoring. It's not a great game. It's not a fun game to watch. It's not a game of skill at that point. And the officials become part of the story every single time. And I'm just going to say, I appreciate Kelvin Sampson. I appreciate his culture. I appreciate how hard his kids work. I'll be glad when those type of coaches retire from the game, and it's slowly happening. And that's just not a good product. That was not a good product in a national championship game. I'm sorry. And when you have that type of team that plays with that type of the way they play, the officials always become part of the conversation. And that should not happen in a national championship game like that. That was not a good product.
They call it tighter the further you go in the tournament. That's just the bottom line. And Florida was on the free throw line from 12 minutes into the second half, all the way to the end. And you play aggressively. The refs in the NCAA tournament, they basically get graded by other refs. And if you don't call fouls early in the tournament, you get weeded out to be the refs late in the tournament. So anyways, the thing that I would say for this, I mean, having watched Phi Slamma Jamma back in the 80s. Let me finish.
Bring that back up.
What a crappy way for University of Houston to lose 2 national championships. I mean, Lorenzo Charles putting it back in, that was like a dagger. And this time, 2 minutes left, they didn't get a shot off. Twice. I mean, they had the possession twice and dribbled off their leg one time. The shot that didn't go up the second time. I thought Houston outplayed Florida, and Florida just was a better basketball team. And to your point, I think they executed better on offense down the stretch. And that was the ultimate difference. Even though Houston's athletic big men are so athletic. Holy cow. I mean, they were putting balls back in off rebounds that were just like, they were man plays. But ultimately, I think that, I think a more skilled basketball team, maybe, and passing, that sort of stuff. And then Jerry's right. I mean, the refs played a role.
And that style of play forces it to happen. And I know some people don't agree with me, and that's fine. That's why we have this, and that's why it's fun. But as somebody in the chat said, well, the refs called the game differently second half. They're forced to. They were forced to because of the style of play. That's my point. I like physical basketball. That's not I played basketball. Basketball is a physical sport. It's not WWE. And Sampson and Barnes, that's the way they win. And if people don't think that's the way they are and that's intentional, then you're not watching close enough. The problem is, and I respect Sampson as a coach. I respect the culture. I respect how hard his kids play. My point, though, that was not a good product in a national championship game. Close game or not, that's not it, man. And when I would have said it, win or lose. and they lost, but that's just I don't like it. I just and I want physical basketball, but I don't want WWE basketball. Basketball's a physical sport. It's a contact sport, but it's just when it gets to the point of the refs being part of the conversation, it's never good.
Yeah, I would agree with basically what you're saying is it's not
Florida
that
plays defense.
you may have a disdain. You may have a disdain for a defensive oriented game first or whatever. Okay.
No, not that.
What you're saying is that sort of game lends to refs getting more involved and becoming over efficient in the second half in every single contest. And I tend to agree. I mean, I tend to agree with that take. They have to insert themselves. Otherwise they're not allowed to play basketball. I mean,
that's right.
There was a 3-point shot last night that Houston hit where their guy in the post literally was like boxing out people to go out and get the 3-point go out to the 3-point guy. He literally had his hands across both sides. No foul was called. So I don't know. It's just not. I was a little disappointed. I mean, they had a 12-point lead in that second half. So what happened to what Houston made happen to Duke in the semifinals? Florida turned around and pulled on U of H last night.
The crazy. There was a couple of crazy things that game. The game within the game, and then one crazy thing to always follow in recruiting now is because we're going to talk about Sean Miller reoffered some kids in state, and a couple of them are you're gonna know their names. But U of H was 33-0 when holding up, and this is what I've always said on this show all year: is if they can keep a game 70 or below, U of H's chances go way up. And if that thing gets over 75, they go way down against a quality opponent. They were 33-0. Florida did the unthinkable, and that's why they absolutely deserve the national championship. Florida's the only team all year to beat U of H when the game was under 70. U of H was 33-0 headed into that game. So Florida won playing U of H's style, that means you can play fast. You're one of the highest scoring teams in the country. And then when you had to win the ultimate WWE grit game, they did that too. They found the way to do it. So they are a deserving national champion. The other thing is no McDonald's All-Americans in that game. And for people that loosely watch basketball, think about this with Florida. There's a couple of things. One, they don't have a true point guard because that's going to be a lot of discussion. Combo guard. Walter Clayton was a shooting guard coming out of high school, developed his game into a combo guard, lead guard, but he ended pure point. But he's developing. So Walter Clayton was an Iona transfer. Richard was a Belmont transfer. Martin was an FAU transfer. Condon, who was never really fully healthy late in that tournament, is from Australia. Chinaloo was Washington State. The other big was Marshall. He won a national championship with kids that people didn't highly recruit out of high school. That's where the game's at. And even U of H, Roberts wasn't a highly recruited guy. Cryer was semi-highly recruited, obviously went to Baylor, but he wasn't a McDonald's All-American level guy. Uzon was a 4-star kid, wasn't that. Terrence Arsenault the same. Francis, those guys. Both of those teams last night, and they have different styles, but they did it without the highest ranked recruits, right? They took guys because college basketball, I just think it's minor league baseball now. It's A-ball. That's your D2, low D1 guys. Double A is your mid-major. And then your triple A baseball is your high major guys that maybe aren't at the top programs. And this is minor league baseball. That's what college basketball is. It's you're going to who's going to go to the level they're recruited to and perform and develop above expectations. Then they get called up to the majors. And that's what we saw last night. So from that perspective, it was cool.
All right, we got the House settlement discussions happened yesterday. We'll get to those in just 1 minute. First, we need to say thank you to our sponsor of every Tuesday morning's live stream in Coffee and Football. Since 2004, Austin Underground has provided difficult underground commercial installations for the city of Austin in and around the state of Texas. The team's engineering background gives Austin Underground the ability to perform work other firms often consider just too risky. Rick Vavro and his team offer an end-to-end client experience, including seamless communication, budgeting, staffing, and top-notch trade partners. And most importantly, they produce solid quality work each and every time. That's Austin Underground, Rick Vavro and his team over there at Austin Underground. Thank you, Rick, for your sponsorship of On Texas Football.
Hey, we were talking basketball there for a second. I got to say, we got to give a congratulations to Mike Barnes. He won the OTF Bracket Challenge, came in first place. I was looking this morning. So, Mike, congratulations on a bracket well done from all of us here.
Did he have Florida winning it all?
He did. He did indeed. So, yeah, I was trying to pull it up here. He had 1,700 points. And he actually tied with somebody, but they do the score, and so Mike edged out on the score to be the OTF champion for the year. So congratulations,
Mike. Make sure if you don't already have a subscription to On Texas Football, make sure you email me at ontexasfootball@gmail.com, and you, my friend, get a free year subscription to ontexasfootball.com.
And, we're talking about the settlement. Sailor Joe says, good morning, real quick, because I know some of us don't get or understand the House settlement. Explain it.
I will, and we're actually going to have somebody on at 8:45 this morning, Mitt Winter. We've had him on before. He's an attorney with Hertz Benny out of Kansas City area that follows this sort of stuff. Mitt has kind of synopsized it for us at some level. Basically, it sounds like the judge is willing to approve the majority of the settlement. There are going to be two things that the judge is looking for: the NCAA and the plaintiffs to coalesce around. One is grandfathering in scholarships to people affected by this new scholarship rule. So in other words, if your team eliminated the sport of golf, can that university still give that team or those players on that team a golf scholarship of some level to get them through and finish their college years, because something being taken away from them that they really had nothing to do with. She wanted to see some capitulation there from the NCAA on that matter, or some change in that matter from the NCAA. Second piece of it that she was keen to really dig into is the amount of time that the NCAA would have to live under this revenue sharing scenario. And she said that 10 years apparently may be too much. She didn't like the idea of encumbering people that weren't part of this class action settlement, for example, middle schoolers, with an agreement that somebody that is getting back pay essentially is now getting. And so long story short, it sounds like there's still some work to do. She said she was going to be asking for both parties for comments on those two topics in particular, but otherwise she was reasonably happy, it sounded like, or willing to concede parts of the House settlement. If that's the case, a lot of this stuff will go in effect, including that third-party monitoring service around NIL payments beginning July 1. So we'll see how that is and what that means. But good stuff there from them. We'll talk more at length again with attorney Mitt Winter here at 8:45 about the House settlement and some specific questions around that.
All right. Well, Jerry, I know you got a little bit when it comes to recruiting, both basketball and football. So I'm going to kick it over to you now.
Let's start with basketball real quick because football will take me a little longer. But we have two tweets we're going to bring up. Sean Miller got on the phone yesterday with some in-state top targets in basketball. So it's kind of been established now. There are 5 re-offers made. One of those, Austin Guzby, obviously the brother of Trevor Guzby. This kid will play in the NBA one day. He's a 6'5.5", 6'6" combo guard at Melissa High. Probably maybe a McDonald's All-American, ranked in the top 30, 35 in the country, can really shoot it, really skilled. Austin Guzby re-offered by Texas yesterday. Phone call with Sean Miller. I heard Sean Miller, that phone call was tremendous as far as laying out his plan and his vision for Texas basketball with Guzby and the Guzby family. So that call got really strong reviews from those close to it. And I think Texas is the favorite for Guzby now. I think that the offensive style and the fit. Now, if Duke offers him, it's a recruitment. Kansas is all over him. Baylor's all over him. You name it. People are all over him. BYU, people at Alabama. I mean, you name it, right? Duke's really that last offer out there. That live period happens, starting about May 15th. Then the second offer, by the way, J.D. Lewis made the photo. That was pretty cool. Bo Ogden, son of Chris Ogden, ranked top 60 in the country, 6'5.5", wing guard, can really shoot it. It was reoffered by Texas by Sean Miller yesterday as well. There was 5 guys total: Dakari Spirit, the Colony, Billy White at Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial, and Davion Atkins at Faith Family. All 5 of those guys reoffered by Sean Miller in Texas. And I think that's really smart by Miller to do this now, because the live period's coming up in mid-May. And those calls, I think, are important, that those kids and those families have made contact with Sean Miller, and he reached out to them before the first time if the first time you saw or heard from Sean Miller was at the live period. I don't think that'd be smart. I think that was smart that they got on the phone with those kids, told them their vision for Texas basketball and kind of their plan. And so I thought that was very smart, good recruiting by Sean Miller and the staff yesterday. But I heard the calls were really, really impressive. On the football front, big visit weekend coming this weekend for Texas. John Turntine will be in Friday and Saturday. I'm bringing up my list here. KJ Edwards will be in this weekend as well, expected to be in. Now, there's some area track meets. We'll see if that affects anybody coming in this weekend. But out-of-state guys making first visits to Texas. And these are keys for me. This list is going to grow, but Samari Matthews out of Huff High in Cornelius, North Carolina, the corner. He was at South Carolina last week, and we have some tape here as we talk about this. But Samari Matthews was the first corner offer by Mark Orfe at Texas. He's since made a couple others. But Samari Matthews, a guy that most people have had pegged for either South Carolina or Clemson, and that makes sense being from the Charlotte area. But when Texas offered, he immediately set up his June 13th official visit. Now we'll be on campus with his family for the first time. Again, Mark Orfe's first offer. You have a number of defensive linemen on campus. Another corner on campus this weekend is Hayward Howard Jr., who Texas offered in late January before Orfe, but really good player. He's scheduled to be in for his first visit to Texas this weekend. He's a guy that has Miami, Florida, Florida State, Tennessee, Texas, Auburn. I mean, all of them are in there on him. So the quality corners, defensive backs, I think there's going to be more names added to this. Dre Quinn, an edge kid. There's a number of defensive linemen. Damari Simeon, Corey Wells, James Johnson. I think that list will grow a little bit. Tiki Hola is a maybe from Bastrop to attend this weekend. We'll see. But Texas is going to have a strong, I think we'll have a couple of receivers in as well. We're going to have a strong visitors list as it builds out this week, and that's 26s and 27s. We're really focusing on the 26s here. I'm interested to see, if a Gunnar Rivers, when he's going to show up on campus at Texas. He actually started his visit process a couple weekends ago at Auburn. And we know Texas is recruiting him. Peyton Houston scheduled to be back in this weekend, the 2027 quarterback from Evangel. So, it's going to be a big weekend at Texas. I think there'll be 30 plus kids come through, and that'll carry into early next week. I think Luke Waffle has an event this weekend, maybe comes in Monday. So that's the 4-star plus edge out of the Hun School in Princeton, who's visiting June 20th. So it's going to be a lot but the key here for me this weekend, Turntine's on campus. Yes, KJ Edwards. There'll be a few others like that. But this is the time last year when Jamie French visited, Myron Charles, Josiah Sharma, Grayson Littleton, Zealous Hicks around 7-on-7 tournaments. This was the time when guys made their first ever trips to Texas. And then from there, the official visits happened, and you saw really, does Jamie French comes in. Is Texas really going to have a shot at Jamie French? Well, French's mom loved it. Jamie loved it. Boom. And Texas thought French was a great fit. Boom. And then the recruitment moves forward, right? And Same thing with Myron Charles. So this is a big weekend for these kids. A lot of them will be from out of state that have never been to Texas before. For those guys seeing a fit at Texas, and Steve Sarkisian and his staff, first time meeting and sitting down with these kids, seeing a fit at Texas as well. You're going to know from this weekend, it may take a couple weeks to play out, when official visits are set of all those guys. Okay, both parties said good fit. In Texas, especially said, we think this guy's could be a good fit for us.
All right, we got our special guest coming up here in just a few seconds. But first, I want to say thank you to one of our sponsors. We got a little behind there on sponsor reads. Talk about this. It is called Pesty. It's a new product that is a do-it-yourself pest control kit that gets mailed to your home. You can protect your home easily and at a quarter of the cost. Other pest control companies charge more than $800 per year to come out and take care of your home. But with Pesty, you can get started at just $35 per treatment, and it's with a customized plan based on your location, the bugs, and the climate. Everything you need is provided in one simple kit. We got it here at our house and started using it. A lot of bad weather at our house brings in some ants. They try to get through the cracks in the bricks, etc. But it was really easy to get started. The mixing bag, the sprayer, there's pesticide that you use gloves with, all of the things that you get. The instructions were really easy. If you really like how want to do something on your own and customized and affordable, Pesty is how you want to do it. It gets rid of over 100 types of bugs. It's kid and pet friendly. It offers a 100% bug-free guarantee or your money back. So if the bugs don't go away, they'll give you a full refund. The kit includes a sprayer, mixing bag, pesticide, gloves, and instructions. You can complete all of it in less than 10 minutes. It took me about 15 minutes because I'm a little slower, but still saving me about $200 on the quarter to do this. Call to action here. Protect your home from bugs with Pesty. Go to pesty.com/OTF for an extra 10% off your order. That's pesty.com, pestie.com/OTF for an extra 10% off of their regularly low price. Again, pesty.com/OTF. Get the bugs out of here this summer for Longhorn fans.
Thank you for that, Bobby. And I'm also going to let everyone out there know about Huel. I'm always on the go. With 3 kids, I am always busy, which means a lot of the time I just can't find the time to sit and prepare a meal and then cook it. Every morning, I'm scrambling to get the kids ready, send them off to school, and then I'm rushing to get ready for coffee and football, which doesn't leave a lot of time for breakfast. And that is where Huel comes in. Their Black Edition ready to drink is a meal in a bottle. There's no prep, no hassle. I just grab it from the fridge and I'm all set. But it's not just for breakfast. It gets me going anytime during the day when I just can't find the time to eat. Honestly, it's a lifesaver. I try and eat and drink well, and Huel checks all the boxes for me. It's high in protein. It contains all 27 essential vitamins and nutrients to support my immune system, and it's low in sugar with only 6 grams per bottle. It also tastes pretty good, and there are multiple flavors to choose from, including vanilla, chocolate, strawberry banana, and iced coffee. I really like the vanilla and iced coffee the best, but today I'm drinking chocolate, and I enjoy it as well. I know that you'll find a flavor that you love, and Huel is going to hook y'all up. New customers, visit Huel.com/OnTexas today and use code OnTexas to get 15% off your first order plus a free gift. That's Huel, HUEL.com/OnTexas, using promo code OnTexas for 15% off and a free gift. And
all right,
Bobby,
let's bring him in. Mitt Winter, attorney for Kenny Hertz Perry, is a somewhat of a expert on this house settlement. I've been reading his tweets. I've interviewed him once before. Extraordinarily competent and prepared to talk about this. Mitt, I was reading your take on the house settlement today, your kind of thoughts on it all. If you don't mind, would you please share those with the folks here at On Texas Football this morning? And welcome to the show, by the way. Thank you for joining us. Mitt, you're muted right now. I don't know if it's on. I don't think it's on our end. Something's going on there. Oh, let's come back to him real quick. I'm going to call Mitt offline. And wait, I think we got him there. Maybe.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you now, Mitt. Thank you so much.
Just had some technology issues there for a second.
So, Mitt, break it down for us. What happened yesterday in Oakland in the House settlement case? Judge Claudia Wilkin meeting with the NCAA and the Kessler and Berman attorneys.
Yeah, so yesterday was what's known as the final fairness hearing for the House settlement. Because it's a class action settlement, the judge has to grant final approval to the settlement agreement before the terms of the settlement can actually be implemented by the parties. And so that is what everyone was in Judge Wilkin's courtroom for yesterday. And I think most people who've been paying attention to this and kind of understand how the legal world works, we're not expecting Judge Wilkin to either approve or deny the settlement yesterday, and that's the case. Right from the beginning, she basically said, "I'm not going to give you guys a decision today. I'm going to hear what you guys have to say and ask you guys some questions and give you guys a chance to address some of the things that I see as potential issues in this settlement agreement, and we'll have a discussion about those things." And then there were also all of the people who have objected to the settlement. A lot of those people got to appear in court or via Zoom yesterday and further explain their objections to the settlement agreement. So, coming away from it, I think it's pretty clear that Judge Wilkin does want to eventually approve a settlement agreement, but the question is whether it's going to be in the exact form of the settlement agreement as written today, or are there going to have to be a few changes made? There were a couple of things that she really honed in on as potential changes that she would maybe want to see coming back from the parties. One was the roster limit issue. She basically asked if they could just phase those in over time instead of having them apply to this upcoming academic year and athletic season, as opposed to doing that, just phase them in over a couple years. So she asked them to kind of go back and think about that. So we'll see what they come back with there. I can't imagine that they're going to really try and stand 100% firm on that and say we're not going to make any changes, because would you really risk the entire settlement being blown up over that issue? I don't know. And then the other issue she really honed in on was the way the settlement agreement is written now. It binds even future college athletes out to 10 years. So she kept saying, what about the 10-year-old on the playing kickball at recess? Is that person bound? And the way that works is there's two parts of the settlement: the damages class and the injunctive relief class. The injunctive relief class is the one that would bind future college athletes out for 10 years, and they wouldn't be able to bring injunctive relief challenges to new rules that are put in place as part of the settlement. So like the salary cap and the rules related to restrictions on collective and booster deals. They wouldn't be able to bring rules to challenge those lawsuits to challenge those rules and say, have a court say that they cannot be enforced. So she had some issues with that, because she's like, how do I know who's in this class, and they're giving up these future rights, but we don't even know who these people are. How can I approve a settlement with that in there? So she didn't necessarily say you need to go back and make wholesale changes to that. She said you can really, we can make some changes to that, or you can try and persuade me why it can stay the way it is. So going away, she asked the parties to get back to her in a week with another brief they're going to file explaining if we're going to make changes to the settlement agreement, here are what they are, or if there are things they don't think need to be changed that she mentioned, why they don't need to change those. And it's possible, based on what kind of response they give to her, that they will, after they file this brief in a week, then follow up with a revised settlement agreement. So I would say at the earliest, we're still a few weeks away from potential final approval. The plaintiff's attorney said they hoped maybe 3 weeks she'll approve it. But we'll just kind of have to see what their response is in this brief that they're going to be filing here.
You're an observer of this. I get the feeling this did not surprise you, this outcome. What about things that could be ancillary to this, like the things that I was thinking about? Obviously, are getting pushed down the road, and I mean the idea that you can somehow have a third party create what is fair market value. And actually decrease the overall amount of dollars going into NIL right now.
Yeah.
At some point, I see the Kansas basketball in your back in your background. We cover Texas. Well, Texas spends inordinately in football. Kansas spends inordinately in basketball. Those numbers are going to have to come down under this agreement, or somebody's going to have to take the NCAA and that group to court. It essentially is what it sounds like, because the judge is not even talking about that aspect of this agreement currently. Is that accurate?
Yeah, you're referring to the restrictions on collectives and boosters for basically operating the way they have been operating for the past 3.5 years, where there's really no limit on the amount of money they can pay to athletes. That briefly came up a few times, but it wasn't a focus of the hearing at all. Based on yesterday, it doesn't seem like that's something that Judge Wilkin necessarily has a problem with in the settlement agreement right now. But to your point, I do think we will see, assuming that the settlement gets approved and that's in the settlement, we'll see some future lawsuits around that. I think so. Number one, maybe by a third party, collective or booster, or even a booster-owned business that wants to do a deal with an athlete for a certain amount, and Deloitte at this new clearinghouse says you can't do it. I could definitely see a booster filing a lawsuit around that issue, saying, who are you to tell me that I can't do a business deal for what I perceive to be this athlete's fair market value? I also think, going back to the future college athlete issue, future college athletes, although they aren't going to be able to bring lawsuits to stop enforcement of any new rules that come out of the settlement, they will be able to bring damages lawsuits. So if a booster wants to offer, let's just say, or a collective, an athlete, a deal for $1 million, but Deloitte says, no, you can't do that deal. Your fair market value is only $500,000. Well, that athlete could file a lawsuit and say, well, I've been financially damaged by these rules that violate antitrust law, and I know exactly what my damages are. They're $500,000. So I think we'll see a lawsuit like that at some point from a future college athlete. So someone who's in high school right now.
Do you think that would have weight, like enough weight to actually change NCAA rules, or is that getting way ahead of ourselves?
I mean, if they lose a lawsuit like that and they see, well, we're going to keep getting sued for this and we're going to lose and we're going to have to pay out all this money, I mean, you would think eventually they would change the rules, even though a court wouldn't necessarily be able to enjoin the enforcement of those rules. But I don't know if you'd want to keep rules in place that the court says are illegal and you owe a bunch of money because of the enforcement of those rules, and people are just going to keep coming back to the well and suing you every time you deny a deal.
I think, Mitt, the question I had, and this is where I was going with it, we keep using the term trying to put the genie back in the bottle. And so much of what this settlement looks like is partially that, right?
Yeah.
Is they're trying to put the genie back in the bottle. Limiting payouts to players is one of those genies they're putting back in the bottle. It would be one thing if they were giving some level of voice to the players about this, but they're not. The players aren't really speaking up. They're speaking up about back pay issues in this settlement, not future pay. Yet the NCAA is saying, okay, well, we'll also figure out this future pay model on one that we negotiate.
Right.
And so my question is this just ultimately, is the House settlement going to be a defining document, or are they really just kicking the can down the road to where they're going to get sued and have to back out of the House settlement in a year? or 6 months? I mean, what's your prognosis there?
Yeah, no, I don't think the House settlement is going to be like provide the final model for college athletics.
Okay.
There will definitely be some lawsuits coming out of it, whether it's respect to the salary cap on the amount of money that schools can pay to athletes, whether it's those third-party restrictions that we talked about, or something else. It could even be if roster limits stay as part of the lawsuit, there'll probably be lawsuits about that. There will be Title IX lawsuits. The employment issue is still out there. The House settlement doesn't affect that whatsoever. So those cases are going to keep moving along. And there is language specifically in the settlement agreement that says if college athletes are later deemed employees or given the rights to collectively bargain, then the settlement agreement can be torn up. I think, and it's hard to predict when this might happen, whether it's 3 years, 5 years, whatever. I think at some point down the road, at least some college athletes will eventually be deemed employees and collectively bargain. To me, that's the only way you're going to get really rules that have certainty that are not going to be challenged every year for violating antitrust law. Because if you collectively bargain rules like they do in the NFL and the NBA, they get an antitrust exemption. So that's how they're able to have the draft and salary caps and all the stuff they have there in those leagues. And obviously, those leagues do great. NFL's one of the best businesses in the country, the best sports league in the world, probably. So they have a pretty good model. And I think eventually, at least the highest level of college football and basketball, and maybe a few other sports, will probably get to some sort of model similar to that.
Speaking with Mitt Winter of Kenny Hertz Perry law firm out of Kansas City area. Mitt, thank you so much for your time. We know you bill out like probably $500 an hour, and you just gave us a quarter of it. Thank you so much, bud. Look forward to hearing back from you. Jerry, did you have one final question?
I did. This is our first William and Mary former basketball player on the show. So, man, that's pretty cool, dude. I see you William and Mary Tribe in the background, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
Go Tribe. Go Tribe.
All right. Hey, they used to have a great cross-country program. One of my friends was a coach there for them. So, hey, I appreciate you very much, Mitt.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yep. Follow him at Winter Sports Law on Twitter. That's Winter Sports Law on Twitter. Good stuff from him and his group there. Long story short, the House settlement has been pointed to by athletic directors and other people in this area for a number of years. I think for a number of months as this kind of sea change. Even I feel like the NCAA president came out last night in staunch support of it. I literally think it's just piecemeal. I would caution anybody thinking that there's a panacea coming in college sports. I just don't think it's going to happen. So at the same time, we got other news to talk about.
I want to say when this all started, my prevailing thought was it was going to end up with them, the athletes being employees. And that's the end game. That's where it's weaving its way through a lot of things, but I still remain the same. It's going to end with being with employment. And then what he talked about at the end, that's where all this is going to end. It's a weaving road to actually get there, of course, but that's where this is going. That's the end game here. And then from there, we'll see how the future of college athletics plays out.
All right, so we got a couple of super chats that we need to read this morning. First one here from Major Alexander. Thank you, Major. He says, "Good morning and hook 'em."
Love that first name.
And then one from Jay Lee. Thank you, Jay. Jay says, "Heard someone say that what we do in the portal window offensively will determine whether this team competes for a natty this year or not." What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I think that's fair. But look, I think they've got to get an older receiver. We've talked about that, and I think they need a tight end. If they don't get those two things, I really, from that vantage point right now, I'm more concerned about tight end. Like, I think they could make do with current receivers on the roster. Wouldn't be ideal. As long as Wingo, Livingstone, and Moore don't get hurt in season, I think they could make do. But tight end right now, they're preciously thin. They're not going to win I don't think they're going to win a national championship with the current tight ends on their roster. Not if one of them's hurt. It's just they're too young. They don't have, this. I feel pretty strongly about that. So I think that's a fair statement. Whether I would say this, they're going to compete for that regardless. Whether they win it or not and have all the pieces there is a different story. I'm not super concerned about them actually making it happen. I mean, obviously, we're going to track that and make sure follow it along, because Texas is going to go after guys in the portal starting April 16th as soon as they go in. But I'm not. I think they need another piece on defense, and they're looking for one. But wide receiver, tight end, be on the lookout.
Yeah. So my thought on it is I get the question, but Ohio State and Georgia lost more than Texas, and those are your three betting favorites right now. And does Texas, if they just stood pat right now, do they have any less chance than Georgia or Ohio State? I don't know. I don't think anybody can say that for sure, right? I just don't, because Ohio State still has things needs they have to fill. Georgia has needs they have to fill. Penn State probably needs they think they have to fill. I mean, they have the most guys coming back offensively. They have the quarterback and 2 NFL running backs, but they're not the betting favorite, right? So I don't know. I mean, I don't know on that. I think Texas is a really, really talented team. And I just look at this. Look at the national championship of basketball last night. Those weren't the two most NBA talented teams in the tournament in college basketball. And one of them cut down the nets, and one of them was there watching it happen. But those weren't the most talented teams in college basketball last night. So I don't necessarily agree that. I think everybody in college football right now in this spring still has holes they have to fill to put the best team on paper that they can. And of course, paper doesn't guarantee a title, but it gives us a lot more to talk about headed into the season.
Hey, speaking of Ohio State, you mentioned them as one of the teams that is losing a lot, Jerry, and they are. I talked to a friend of mine that covers Ohio State. I talked to him on Monday afternoon. He said that right now, Julian Sayin is not going to be the number one quarterback for them. It's going to be a guy named Lincoln Kienholz. Has been the guy that's been the guy at Ohio State. He is originally from South Dakota, multi-sport guy, a sophomore.
Really good athlete.
Yeah, a sophomore for Ohio State. So they don't expect Julian Sayin to actually be the guy in Columbus as of right now. When Texas goes there, his name is Lincoln Kienholz, Kienholz, if you want to look him up.
He was a guy that look, North Dakota State, Wyoming were his early visits. Wisconsin was in on it, and Washington. And I remember the recruitment. He's a really good athlete. Then Ohio State came in late on him. He's grown 1.5 inches since high school, apparently. He was like 6'1.5" coming out in that range, and now he's about 6'3". But a really good athlete. I think maybe mom was a really good athlete as well, if I remember that recruitment correctly. But look, either way, Ohio State's going in with – Texas has more quarterback game experience than Ohio State in that game, which is crazy, right?
Yep.
He said Living Rip Free said he didn't play well against Mizzou. That's Texas has more quarterback experience than Ohio State going into that game, which we're going to be having months to talk about it. But that is interesting because Julian Sayin obviously was the highly ranked guy going into Ohio State.
All right, before we move on and get to some more questions here, first, Jerry, I'm going to let you tell everyone out there about Gooder.
Well, I'll be honest. I've misplaced my Gooders, but why not? Why does that matter? I can go get another pair, $25. They start at $25 a pair, 1 year free warranty, 30-day free returns. I didn't need any of that with my Gooders and won't need any of my next pairs of Gooders. They're lightweight and comfortable. They're 100% polarized, no slip, no bounce. From vibrant colors to sleek styles, there is a pair of Gooders for every personality, designed for both everyday wear and active individuals that love to run, hike, bike, and much, much more. When do you wear your Gooder Sunnies? I'll tell you when I wear mine. A walk, man. Pollen's bad. In Austin, the dust around the new practice facility was terrible. Riding the bike at the beach. Any of those times. When I'm in Florida going to see top football prospects in May, I'll have my Gooders on, driving down to Florida, into Atlanta, around the beach, man, writing a story at the beach. That sounds like a plan. I'll be wearing my Gooders because they're so affordable. You don't have to worry about losing or breaking them. You can have a pair for every single occasion. Good news, John Shire. I think they're going to start making Duke ones so you can go around with your sunglasses on and nobody can recognize you after that choke job. If you need a new pair of sunnies, Gooder is giving On Texas football listeners free shipping. You can go to gooder.com/OnTexas and use code OnTexas, all caps, for free shipping. Gooder offers a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Again, that's gooder.com/OnTexas and use code OnTexas for free shipping. Again, Coach Shire, I think we'll get some Duke ones made for you so nobody sees you walking around Durham. Or Chapel Hill, because Chapel Hill people will be making fun of you for days.
I got to be honest, Jerry. You may be talking about about Duke choking, but look, Houston. CJ Vogel posted this last night. Houston last night in the final 4 minutes of that game, 3 points they scored in the final 4 minutes, 5 turnovers, including 2 in the last minute of the game. So I think Houston kind of choked that one away a little bit too, unfortunately for them. All right, I want to say thank you also to one of our newest sponsors. If you're going to Houston, Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Fort Worth, any of the major cities in Texas, and it's a day trip or you just want to get away for a while, make sure you try out Vaughn Lane. That is the first-class coach passage for people that want to just make the easy drive to and from these major cities in the state of Texas. If you've ever tried a same-day round trip between Dallas and Austin and done it driving yourself, it's a lot of lost productivity. Emails pile up, calls go unanswered, and work is left undone while you focus on the road. Or if you're trying to fly between the two cities, you spend probably 2 or 3 hours in TSA lines or waiting for to board a plane, etc. That's not the case with Vaughn Lane. They change everything. It's luxury business travel on wheels. So private jet on wheels. Seek into a plush leather seat with a leg rest. Stay connected with complimentary Wi-Fi. Enjoy complimentary snacks, drinks on every trip, plus delicious meals on select departures. And if you need to freshen up, they have hot towel service. Want to relax? They've got eye masks, pillows, and blankets. That's all the things that Jerry needs to keep him nice and comfy and warm. The Vaughn Lane team takes care of every detail so you can sit back, unwind, and enjoy the most comfortable travel experience on the road. Business travelers recapture your productivity. Leisure travelers sit back, relax, and get pampered so you can take a weekend trip to Austin. If you're planning a football game, concert, or special event, you can charter your own Vaughn Lane coach for the ultimate group experience. Vaughn Lane is first-class travel without the hassle. See for yourself. Visit vaughnlane.com. That's VONLANE.com. And use promo code OTF25 for $20 off your first trip. Again, vaughnlane.com. Luxury regional bus travel. Appreciate them.
Well, we have more questions to get to this morning, but first let's do this super chat here from Jack. Jack, thank you as always. And Jack says, playing 14 plus game seasons now, I don't think 1,000 plus rushing yards means as much. That's no knock on Wisner, but shouldn't the measuring stick be 12 to 1,300 plus?
It depends on if a school's going to ride one back more, or because of longer schedules, they're going to split carries more and depth becomes. But I actually think we're going to lean to having a team that can have 3 really good backs, because somebody's going to get nicked up and they're going to get injured and miss some time. I think the team that has 3 really good backs is going to be ahead of the game in long seasons, because the other thing that's not talked about, it's hard to keep running backs fully healthy for long schedules like that.
Especially young guys.
Yeah.
Especially young guys. Jack, look, the difference that you're talking about, just to give you an example, 83 yards a game over 12 games gets you a 1,000-yard season. Over 14, all you have to do is have 70. I mean, we know that Trey Wisner got 1,000 yards last year, but if that would have been a 12-game season, he ain't getting there. Didn't have enough yardage, enough time, because he didn't really start going until the Oklahoma game, 5 or 6 games into the season. So I think you're right. I think that the true measure may be more 1,300 yards. At the same time, Jerry's got a point in that more disbursement might be called for, because if you think about it, all those Alabama teams that Nick Saban had, they didn't just have Mark Ingram in the backfield. They also had Derrick Henry. They also had Josh Jacobs. They had Kenyon Drake. They had, a number of different guys sharing the rock.
I'll add, Bobby, Penn State. So Penn State will kind of be the talk of college football this year, but it's from the running back position because Katron Allen and Singleton return. Last year, they played, a 4 to 15 game season themselves. Katron Allen had 1,100 yards. Nicholas Singleton, 1,099 yards. I think you're going to see more of that. I mean, look.
From the elite teams.
From the elite teams. If Ashton Janty's at Boise, you got to ride the horse to get to the playoffs, right? And you have a great player. But I think you're going to see more 2 tandem guys more so in the future. And I think it was already headed that way, honestly, because one of the recruiting pitches to running backs, it's gone from carrying it 35 times for 200 yards every week to, hey, we're going to get here. We're going to make you a fixture in the passing game. We're going to make you a complete back. Oh, by the way, you're going to get your numbers, but we're also going to save your body for the NFL. That's kind of become recruiting pitches. And I think you're going to slowly see more of that with these longer college football seasons. And I think ideally having 3 backs, a couple of maybe 1,000-yard rusher, a guy that goes for 800, and a third guy that is a really good complementary piece to them is going to be better for keeping all these guys healthy. I mean, if you look at it, so I was looking at Penn State, Nicholas Singleton only carried the ball 172 times last year. That's not a lot in 15 games. But he
not
also
a lot of tread on the tires.
Yeah, 41 receptions, right? Katron Allen, who is their power back, they carry in between the tackles guy, more so carried at 220. I think those are kind of the numbers you want to hit, for these power programs that are playing longer season.
Okay, our next super chat comes from Bruce. Thank you, Bruce. And Bruce says, good morning from Gunner. Thanks for being my morning pick-me-up. I rarely post, but the show is great. What running back on the roster currently can take the Jaden Blue role? By the way, I post under the name of Orange Guitar.
Yeah.
There's not one. There's not a guy that's similar to that. And I'll say this because Jaden Blue has special acceleration. Like you could have a guy that plays that role, but he's not going to take his place. Jaden Blue has special acceleration. Jaden Blue, I mean, we talked about this yesterday. Some people have him going in the top 50 to 75 in the draft. Jaden Blue is not as a running back, would not be drafted in this draft if he was just a running back. But out of the backfield, he is potentially special. And so that role, Trey Wisner is probably the most reasonable approximation, but he's going to be your maybe every down back. So you can't look at him. Ricky Stewart is probably situated the best to be that guy in the future, a young freshman. But I don't, to be fair, I don't know that there is one, Bruce. I really don't. And that's something that Steve Sarkisian is going to have to deal with as we go forward.
Well, I think there's going to be you're going to see an offensive shift within Sark's scheme. Jaden Blue, look, I was on record with him coming out of high school, tremendous out of the backfield. As a runner, I think Texas is going to be better at the running back position next year because Jaden Blue wasn't not a good inside runner, wasn't a physical runner. I think Texas is going to go more to having a duo at running back that actually fits the scheme from a running perspective. And where I think that's important is with Arch Manning, Sark's going to want to throw the ball down the field more again now. I think Jaden Blue was a perfect fit with Quinn Ewers. I think with Arch Manning, Bobby, you're going to see more more of the RPO, more of the play action, more wanting to throw the ball down the field, more of wanting to stick that ball in every running back's stomach. The threat of the interior run game, the downhill run game with more than one back, outside zone, inside zone returning next year with, I think, bigger movers of people on the interior on the offensive line. I think you're going to see a shift within Steve Sarkisian's scheme because of Arch being the quarterback and what his strengths were versus what Quinn's strengths were. There's a reason they recruited bigger wideouts because they're going to back shoulder ball. More of the outside the numbers vertical game is going to come into play. So I think it's going to be fun to watch because I think the offense is going to look totally different from a year ago. And I think you look because of that. I'm not sure the running backs will have as many receptions next year or used in the same way out of the backfield, but I think they're going to be used more as pure runners, whoever replaces Jay Blue. Because the reality was Texas couldn't trust Jaden Blue to not turn the ball over when they handed it to him.
In the middle of the season in particular. Starting at Mississippi State. I'll just say this with Jaden Blue. I think you can underestimate somebody's loss. I think that it's not just his loss. It's also Keelan Robinson, who held that role before him. And so to Jerry's point, Texas doesn't have that guy next year for that approximate either of those guys, in my opinion. And so you're probably going to see something go differently. The one thing I will say about this, and football is about scoring touchdowns, right? And we all know Texas had its red zone issues last year. Jaden Blue led the team in touchdowns. He had 8 rushing touchdowns and 6 receiving touchdowns. He had 14 touchdowns total. Next highest was Matthew Golden at 9. So Trey Reisner only had 6 touchdowns all season. That's a lot of touchdowns that were scored by Jaden Blue. I think we underestimate a little bit of what he brought to the table from a touchdown scoring perspective. His speed is special, and just replicating that is tough, and then getting that same production out of it is going to be even tougher.
Okay, our next question here comes from Corey J. And Corey asks, who are our playmakers? I think Arch may have to carry more than Quinn ever had to as a first-year starter.
There's no doubt about that. He doesn't have Bijan Robinson sitting back there and Roschon Johnson, right? And it's also, I think it lends to more of who he is, Jerry. I mean, I think that's more – I think Arch is more of a playmaker. Quinn's more of a distributor. We were talking to – can't remember who we were talking to. I think it was what Quinn or what Sark was talking about with Chris Sims about what's Quinn's superpower, right? What does he do really well? And Sark said it was getting the ball out on time to the short routes and in the right place every single time. It was like almost like a robot doing it. That's not necessarily Arch. To Jerry's point earlier, Arch is more of a downfield guy, read through progressions, etc. I think you're going to see a more typical NFL style offense out of Sark in Texas next year than you did with Quinn. That's my opinion. And I think they're going to use the middle of the field more too, because they got a tall. I mean, Arch is taller. Arch can buy a little bit more time in the pocket, in my opinion. You're going to see Texas use the middle of the field more.
And then King Me wants to know, when it's all said and done, who will be the surprise freshman this season?
Jerry, you going to bet Nick Townsend?
True freshman. Yeah, I think Nick Townsend by the second half of the year. The guy's too athletic, man. I mean, for those that missed it, he ran 21.6 fully automatic time in the 200 in district to get to regionals at 230 pounds. I'm not sure how many 230 pounders I've ever seen run that type of 200 meter time. He's just a freak athlete at that size. And he would be one. I think Jonah Williams in the return game is going to be interesting.
Man, you're sticking on that one.
Yeah, so maybe we think about it. We think about him at safety a lot, but I just wonder if he's going to make some plays in the return game. I also think special teams wise with him, period. Like, could be punt block, right? If he's not punt returner. I think there's some things with him from just a playmaking standpoint that are pretty high end. I think Jamie French is going to have they're different players, and I'm not saying Jamie French is NFL combine the same, but it wouldn't shock me if Jamie French put up Ryan Wingo's production next year. What did Wingo have? 29 for 407 yards? That wouldn't shock me at all with Jamie French next year. I think either Justice Terry or Lance Jackson, as the season moves along, will be an impactful big body. There you go. Will be an impactful big body, and it may be more as situational pass rusher in NASCAR package. It may be just a bigger body against the run after they get acclimated to college football. I think one of those guys will also make a statement next year, and it wouldn't shock me if, as the season moves along, one of those two freshman interior D linemen does the same thing as a disruptor. A Myron Charles is a disruptor.
Based on what I've been told, my two, as of right now, and I reserve the right to change this, please, Cade Phillips and Justice Terry.
Yeah,
that's just.
I think Cade Phillips is really, really talented. The thing, and I think it may be as the season moves along, the question is, look, that becomes 100% true if he beats out a veteran at corner. If he's a third rotational guy, it'll take him a little longer, right?
Took Manny Muhammad 6 games.
Yeah.
His freshman year.
Yeah.
I think those are my two.
Hey, by the way, as far as redshirt freshman, I said it before that he had a really good redshirt year. I know I've said it on Nate Kibble, so people are thinking you're going to bring up Nate Kibble. Santana Wilson, I've heard, has had a really good spring.
Good.
And I'm not saying he's going to start, but again, he had a good redshirt year, and he's having a good spring as well.
That's great to hear. The other true freshman that we didn't even mention, and that's because he's backing up a guy that's a pretty good player at left tackle. That's Nick Brooks, Jerry.
Yeah, he's way ahead of where they thought he'd be.
Yeah, terrific. So look, the question is, who's going to be the next Ryan Wingo, Anthony Hill, Colin Simmons, the guy that just shows up out of nowhere as a freshman and just looks all world. We'll have to wait and see. Could be there's a lot of candidates, which is always a good thing, if that makes sense. The fact that there's so many candidates Texas has that are just really, really talented players.
And I want to say this, and Sark's he's put this out there. I think you're going to see more of these guys on the field because Texas is preparing for long seasons. And he's saying it, we got to play more guys. And the older guys have to understand that. They may play a few less snaps here or there. We have to play more guys. So I expect to see more freshmen playing maybe than in recent years as part of like back into rotations. Maybe that's the third string edge guys that get a little time. Third string D tackle guys or fourth team D tackle guys, which is a 6-man rotation to get a few more snaps. Linebackers, defensive backs. I think we're going to see that. Dwayne, we had said hearing anything on Daniel Cruz. I've heard he's been tremendous. Now, does that mean he's going to start? No. Does that mean the Texas is very, very high on where he's going to be as a multi-year starter eventually? Absolutely. He's going to be a stud. Like there's going around and seeing him, there's certain guys that are, if they just don't get injured, they just have it and they're going to be really good. Daniel Cruz was that guy in that class for me. Turntine's that class, and the guy in 2026. There's no doubters. Those are no doubter guys because the way they're wired plus their talent level.
Before we get to our last couple of questions, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone out there about Austin Underground.
Yeah, absolutely. Since 2004, Rick Vavro and his team at Austin Underground have been helping the city of Austin and its builders with difficult underground commercial installations. If you think about it, you see all those big buildings downtown. Somebody has to be doing the work underneath that to make sure they stay stable, etc. That is Rick Vavro and his team, Longhorn through and through. Rick and his team offer an end-to-end client experience, including seamless communication, budgeting, staffing, and top-notch trade partners. And most importantly, they produce solid quality work each and every time. That's Austin Underground. Like I said, Rick is a Longhorn through and through. He also is an entrepreneur of sorts. He enjoys the finer things in life, like a bar. He has a bar that he runs out in Jonestown, Texas, as well, that he and his family invested in. Go out there and join him. It's called the Lone Star Bar. Get a chance to go out by the lake, hang out, have a cold one, have a flight by Yingling, and enjoy yourself out there at Lone Star Bar as well. Thanks to Rick and his team for sponsoring Coffee and Football and making these shows possible. Without them, we could not have them. Hey guys, I think we have a special. We need to read these off. This is from Michael Guzby. Michael Guzby is the father of Trevor Guzby and Austin Guzby. The basketball player that Jerry Hamilton was talking about earlier. Michael sent a couple of chat messages in, and I wanted to read those for people because it deals with Sean Miller and what he did in the conversation they had yesterday. Jerry was articulating some of that earlier in this chat. This is from Michael Guzby, reading it out for you guys. Coach Miller gave us a very clear understanding on his coaching strategy, culture, building in the program, and how he plans to recruit my son, Austin, and player development. The call with Coach Miller and his staff was amazing, and for them to take the time to call in the middle of still trying to assemble a 2025 roster meant a lot to our family and to Austin. That gives you a sense of what's going on there. He is a 2026 player, as is Bo Ogden, right, Jerry?
Yeah.
Who is Chris Ogden's son. So it looks like Texas very interested, at least in those two players at this point in time.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, normally when a coach is hired, his first full class may have one more high school kid than some of the other classes will have. Look, I mean, Austin Guzby and Bo Ogden, really good players. Both of them can really shoot the basketball, and they both have size. Austin Guzby is a combo guard that can be a lead guard, an offense initiator, and I think as his game continues to mature and develop, he may go from combo guard to lead guard. I think he has that in him. Bo Ogden is a guard wing who is, who can really shoot it. He's going to be a 38, 40, 41% three-point shooter, athletic, 6'5". Both those guys 6'5.5", 6'6" range, depending on, how you measure them and maybe how tall they stand up and those sort of things. But the question will be how big of a high school class is it? Yeah, they'll probably be a big in that class as well. It may be an international kid. We'll see on that. It may be a Davion Atkins from in-state. Sean Miller may want to make a statement in-state. This is a great class for him to make an in-state statement because the guys we just talked about, Guzby and Bo Ogden. I mean, look, if Texas does their job recruiting those guys are going to have a hard time saying no. And that's where you want to be. And one thing I'm happy about for Sean when he got this job is that when he looks at his first high school class, both of those guys are in that 6'5.5", 6'6" range, and they can both absolutely shoot the basketball and are skilled players. It's a great place to be starting with your full high school class, first high school class in the state of Texas. And look, Texas has to go out and earn those recruitments. Bo Ogden made an official visit to Purdue. Tennessee was very much in it. Obviously, Aggie played for, was recruited by Rick Barnes. But I think Sean Miller is going to make it tough for those guys to say no.
Yeah, I want to say, by the way, thank you to Mike Guzby, the father of Trevor and Austin, for allowing us that and giving us that information and sharing it with us. It's part of the community here on Texas Football. So we appreciate you very much, Michael, for doing that.
Okay, guys, we got time for just one or two more questions before we get out of here. And this first one's a super chat from Longhorn Frenzy. Thank you as always. And he says, good morning, fellas. Jerry, do you have any upcoming campus visits in Florida or Georgia? And if so, who are some of the recruits that you're going to be watching? Thanks
Yeah,
as always.
I'm going out there in May once spring practices start. I'm going to go. Look, I'm going to go see Kendall Gerville, Fort Myers, Diabell, obviously. Going to move around a little bit. May go see Brody Jennings at Sandalwood, depending on if he makes it at campus. James Johnson, the defensive lineman. There's a number of guys in Florida. Samuel Roseborough may have to go through IMG. That's never a bad trip. The grass smells so good every day at IMG on their grass practice fields. Georgia, absolutely going to go through there for a few days as well. Really, I'm going to plan that more so coming out of these April visits, where when it becomes apparent who Texas is going to make pushes for outside of a Caden Prothrope Bowden and a couple of those guys, right, that we always talk about. Who else is going to be set up? I'll probably be stopping through Alabama. In Mississippi as well on the trip, but yeah, it's going to be a big trip. Probably a couple-week trip down to Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida in May once spring practices start. And the rest of this month in April, I'll be bouncing around in Texas. I'll be on the road some as well, getting ready for that spring evaluation period.
Hey Jerry, when do you think this from George Fishback? When do you think the next recruiting shoe drops, aka next commitment or next wave of kind of stuff? I know you said they have guys coming in this weekend, but that's not really expected to generate commitments per se. When do you think the next recruiting shoe drops? If
you're a 2026 kid, it wouldn't shock me if somebody else didn't fall in late April or May. And I'm not. I know people are saying, "Who's he talking about?" I'm not even sure I'm talking about a specific guy yet. But I could see one or two guys dropping before the June official visits.
And our final one for today comes from Huahin Gobber, and it's a super chat. Thank you so much for that. Definitely appreciate it. And they say, guys, I absolutely learned every time. Simply the best education on Longhorns that I've had since the 60s. Well, thank you.
Hey, I think that we looked that up. That's Thai baht in numbers. That's not US dollars. But we appreciate you very much. I got to say this as it relates to Thailand. I've been watching The White Lotus with my wife. I don't know if y'all watched the finale on the Sunday night, but crazy. It makes me want to go to Thailand just to see some of the stuff that's going on over there, man. I hope you're having a good time. Thank you for supporting the show wherever you're at. That's one of the great things about, I mentioned community earlier with Mike Guzby. You can be sitting at your home in Melissa, Texas, like Mike, or you can be in, Bangkok, Thailand, or in Gunner, Texas, or anywhere in between. But the thing that kind of draws us all together are the Longhorns. It's one of the great things to be about being a Longhorn fan, in my opinion.
Don't forget, not only thank you all obviously for the support on here, but head on over to ontexasfootball.com. Great community, as Bobby said, over there. And if you're not a member, use promo code OTFOG and you'll lock in an annual subscription for just $49.95. Again, that's with promo code OTFOG to take advantage of that offer. And guys, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by Rick Vavro and Austin Underground. I want to thank them, along with Pesty, Gooder, Huel, and Von Lane, all for sponsoring today's show. Bobby, what can folks expect later today right here on OTF?
Well, Steve Sarkisian comes to the mic at 11, so it's about an hour and a half away. Jeff Howe and CJ Vogel are going to be there. We'll have some comments directly from the coach in that video that should go live around 11:30. So please join us for that. Then we also have the recruiting breakdown, Jerry, as well as CJ Vogel, and talk a little Longhorn football recruiting. And then we have the live stream later tonight at 7 o'clock. Should be a good day full of Longhorn news and notes. Don't forget Longhorns practice this morning as well. They're actually still on the practice field right now. We'll have some news and notes for you from that too, hopefully.
Well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll